this is a problem where we have to solve for x. So the first thing we need to do is get rid of the things farthest away from x. Here that would be the 20. To get rid of this 20, we subtract 20 on both sides. 20 minus 20 goes away. This stays negative 2/3 x. This is still a less than or equal to 14 minus 20. That gives us negative 6. And then we have x times a fraction. The easiest way to get rid of times a fraction is to multiply by its reciprocal, which means the fraction flipped upside down. The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. So both sides get a times negative 3/2. The 3's cancel, the 2's cancel, the negatives cancel, and this is just x. Negative 6 times negative 3 is positive 18, and 18 over 2 is 9. Now one thing to remember, anytime that you multiply or divide by a negative, that will flip your inequality around. So instead of less than or equal to, we get greater than or equal to. And that's our answer. X is greater than or equal to 9. If we want to put these in order from least to greatest, first we need to be able to compare them. And before we can compare fractions, we need them to have a common denominator. So for 3 and 4, one possible common denominator is 12. Because 3 times 4 is 12, we know they can both turn into 12. That might or might not be the easiest thing to turn them into, but it will always work. And here it is the easiest thing, the least common denominator. So how do we get from 3 to 12? We multiply by 4. And what we do on bottom of the fraction, we also do on top. 1/3 turns into 4/12. Negative 2/3 to turn 3 into 12, we need a times 4. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. How do you turn 3/4 into something over 12? You need to multiply by 3. 4 times 3 is 12, and negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. Same thing here, multiplying by 3 over 3 will get you 3/12. And now we just need to put these in order. Which of these is the smallest? Well, now we can see that that's negative 9/12. This is the smallest one, and that was originally negative 3/4. What's the next smallest? Well, that's the other negative, negative 8/12, which is really negative 2/3. And then the next smallest, who's bigger, 4/12 or 3/12? 3/12 is smaller, it goes next. And that was really 1/4, so we're putting 1/4. And then the largest of all was the 4/12, which is really 1/3. And all of this right here is what we need for the answer. On this problem, we need to get z by itself. Right now we have 3z plus 4. So when you want z by itself, you start farthest away from the z. You don't start with that 3 over there, you start with this 4 right here. How do you get rid of a plus 4? You do the opposite of plus 4, which is minus 4. You do that on both sides of the equal sign. 4 minus 4 cancels out. 8 minus 4 is 4. The 3z is still there. Halfway through, we still want to get this letter z by itself. So how do we get rid of a times 3? We use the opposite, divide by 3. 3 divided by 3 cancels out. And our answer is this fraction, 4/3. The easiest way to figure out which of these has 4 and negative 4 as solutions is simply to start plugging them in. Let's start by plugging in this 4 right here into answer choice A. 4 squared plus 16. 4 squared is 16. 16 plus 16, that is not 0, so this cannot be the answer. So that takes answer A out of the running. Next we'll try answer B. So x squared, that becomes 4 squared minus 8 times 4 plus 16. Does that equal 0? Let's see, 4 squared, 4 times 4 gives you 16. 8 times 4, that is 32. Plus 16 is still plus 16. positive 16 minus 32. Those are different signs, so we subtract. 32 minus 16 ends up being 16. The bigger number was negative, so we get negative 16 right there. We still have this plus 16 because we only combined these two together to get that. We have negative 16 plus 16 equals 0. So that one worked out, and we're now halfway through. We need both 4 and negative 4 to work out. So far 4 has worked out. Let's see if negative 4 works out. So, negative 4 squared minus 8 times negative 4 plus 16. Does that equal 0? Well, let's see. Negative 4 squared, negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Remember, when you're multiplying or dividing, two negatives make a positive. Negative 8 times negative 4, again, two negatives make a positive. That's 32. Plus 16 is equal to 0. 16 plus 32 is 48, plus another 16 is 64. And 64 does not equal 0. That is wrong. Answer B is not a possible answer. Next, we'll try out answer C. X squared minus 16 equals 0. First of all, let's plug in 4 for x. 4 squared minus 16. 4 squared is 4 times 4, gives you 16. And 16 minus 16, that does give you 0. We've gotten one of the two things we need there, so that's a check there. Now let's try out negative 4. Negative 4 squared minus 16, does that equal 0? Well, negative 4 squared, remember, negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. And 16 minus 16, that will equal 0. Both 4 and negative 4 will make this equation true. So that is the answer. Answer C. When this problem says if x does not equal 0, that's basically them saying you're not dividing by 0 and this is not a trick question. Just do the math the way that you think that you would usually do it. Problem 14. We are adding fractions. And what do we need if we're going to add or subtract fractions? We need a common denominator. So our common denominator, it'll need to have an over x because these have x in there. And it needs a 4 because this one has a 4. And that's it. Everybody can be turned into 4x on this problem. So I need over 4x, over 4x, over 4x. This one is already done. 4x is the LCD is 4x. So I don't need to multiply by anything. If you want, you can think of it as times 1. But you don't need to. You just need k over 4x. Now how do you turn x into 4x? Well, you multiply by 4. X times 4 is 4x. 4k times 4 is 16k. And then how do you turn x into 4x? Again, you multiply by 4. X times 4 is 4x. K times 4 is 4k. And now that all of our fractions have a common denominator, we can add them together. 4k plus 16k, well, 4 plus 16 is 20. So that's 20k over 4x. And then 20k plus another k. Well, if they don't give us a number next to the k, that means there's one of them by default. 20 plus 1 is 21k. And that is our answer. For this problem, we need to start by figuring out what this graph means. Well, we've got everything from the left side of 2 shaded. So this is the graph of x is less than or equal to 2. Numbers like 1 and 0 and negative 1 are all shaded, and they're all less than or equal to 2. So now to figure out what the answer is, we need to take each of these and simplify it and see whether or not it turns into this. So let's start with answer A here. 2x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 8. We need to get x by itself, so to get rid of that plus 1, we subtract 1. 1's cancel out. 8 minus 1 is 7. To get x by itself, we need to get rid of times 2, so we divide by 2. We get x is greater than or equal to 7/2. That's not what we're looking for. A is not the right answer. Let's try out B. 4x plus 1 is less than or equal to 9. To get x by itself, we need to get rid of plus 1, so we need to subtract 1. 1's cancel out and we get 4x less than or equal to, what's 9 minus 1? 8. Next step in getting x by itself, we need to get rid of that 4. To get rid of a times 4, we divide by 4. 4's cancel out. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And that is what we're looking for. B is our answer on this problem.